And I'm going to tell you a story. After,
Sorry, for some reason
Yeah,
you froze. I don't know why. Go ahead.
you saw that. When all of this was going on, all this madness was going on, I got a text in the evening from one Brian Atlas. The very first thing he said, he sent a text over to my wife too, were these words, "Are you okay?" The question there wasn't just a matter of physical safety, of course. I don't think that Brian necessarily had any worries on that front. The "Are you okay?" is, I think when guys like me and him see something like that, we instantly understand, could have been me. It could have been Brian. That could have been any number of creators that we know who do IRL events. By the way, he wasn't the only one. Pearl Davis, first thing that she texted me is, "Are you okay?" But Brian didn't hyper-focus on himself, but rather was asking the legitimate, genuine question, like, man, are you doing all right? Are you feeling all right? Is that because of how gut-wrenching that was, Brian?
Well, I mean, I was going through it, and I mean, I'm sure, we're in the sphere, and I figured you guys seeing that you must have been feeling what I felt. And, I don't know if you've had conversations with him or anything like that, but when something like this happens, it sort of has a impact on all of us. So I just, you and me, we've known each other for a couple years, and I don't think either of us wants to.
We've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I get it. My wife, she just smiled and she was like, thank God for Brian. Because what happened, I got the close up. I don't know if it was before anybody, but it was very, very, very early on, before basically anybody I saw had it. It was sent over to me by somebody who was at the event, and he was in law enforcement. And he said, Andrew, all he said was this. He was like, I don't think so. And I knew exactly what he meant. I knew exactly what he meant when he said, I don't think so. And and what he was saying to me too there was like, tell me I'm wrong, right? Like, please tell me I'm wrong. When he said, I don't think so. And what I sent back to him is, I don't think so either. What I sent back to him is, I don't think so either. And my wife, she was crying. She was like, no, there's no way. He's not dead. He's not dead. And I after I saw that video, right, I said, don't look at this. But I'm confident he's gone. And she was bawling, you know what I mean? Now about an hour later, some of those close-ups were being released, and she was scrolling through Twitter, and like many women and many of you in the audience, they saw the horrific nature once the close-ups were there, and she dropped her phone because it was gut-wrenching. I told her not to look, but I don't think there's any avoiding it, and it just killed her over. Absolutely horrific, this assassination. And I'm sure many of you out in the audience right now, you have the same story. It was probably something very similar for many of you. And the second you see it, you realize just how brutal and savage this attack really was, and that kind of feeling of powerlessness.
I mean, everything you just said resonates with me. Like I said, I saw it first thing when I woke up. First thing, jump out of bed in a panic. And I mean, obviously my first thought is just feeling awful for Charlie, and then his family, his children, and then just obviously the cascading effects it'll have on other people. But yeah, I saw the first one. I couldn't bear to watch it again. It was just like every time I've like seen the clip pop up, I can't watch it again.
Now, leftists, by the way, Brian, have been trolling me by sending me AI memes of this in the most horrific fashion possible. They send them to me via DMs. I'm not going to show you any of these because they're god awful, but they're a jab towards me along with many messages of, well, I won't even repeat those either. They're horrific. I can only imagine this too, an angle that many people have not thought of. If I'm getting those, a debater, right-winger in the sphere, who has even more right-wing views likely than Kirk himself did, can you even imagine what they're sending his poor wife? These horrible fucks are probably sending her the worst shit that you can imagine. And I'll say it here on this platform too. Tucker Carlson, he put out a give, send, go. He put $1 million of his own money in that for a total of $4 million, which is what he's fundraising towards. The Wilsons are going to be contributing to that. I'm sure that that Brian will as well. But I'm asking you in the audience, remember that all the earning capacity of this man was completely eliminated in seconds. And remember that it's not just the horrific torture of his family having to see that live. I heard a story and confirmed that it looks like this is true, that when the shot was fired, his youngest daughter was terrified, and guess where she ran? She ran right towards the arms of her dad, and she was caught, and what I heard on the ground was she said, "Why can't I get to daddy?" The most horrific thing you can ever imagine. And if you think that these fucking merciless bastards aren't sending that poor woman the most horrific shit you can imagine, you're wrong. Because they are.
Some of the videos, some of the stuff I've seen on TikTok, some of the stuff that was reposted from on X, it's completely disgusting. The comments I've seen on, even the sort of, what you can do is, and you've probably seen these, Andrew, if you look at these sort of conciliatory videos or messages from some of these leftists like Dean or that girl Ann or Kylie, they'll put out this sort of almost sort of crocodile tear, doesn't seem very genuine message. But if you look at the comments section, the comments on their video, which says, they'll say violence is never a solution, blah, blah, blah. The comments, their fan base is still rejoicing in what happened. And that's pretty emblematic of, that side of the aisle. I can't think of anybody. Look, I'm not super politics guy or whatever. You're probably more politics guy, Andrew. But I mean, I guess I could ask you, if somebody on the left wing, a Democrat or politician, whatever, or, was assassinated, I can't imagine you or your audience would ever rejoice or celebrate the killing of somebody, even if you didn't like them, even if you, you thought they were a scumbag or whatever it is.
And it's through that mercy that we have become the victims of our own empathy, because we're not lunatics, because we're not crazy, because we're not demonic. That is now being used against us. It's being used against us in the most horrific of ways. That you can't even imagine, and maybe, I don't know how many people even in history could, but you can't even imagine what it has to be like for this poor woman to have thousands of people a party to the live viewing of the public assassination of her husband in front of her children. That is got to be the most god-awful, horrible thing that you could ever imagine a person going through.
Yeah.
And yet, and this family is persevering. right? I can't even imagine that. I was told earlier by one of my audience members who follows Dean Withers that when he came out with those public tears in the Discord, he had a poll. A poll was put up, did Charlie Kirk deserve this or not? And 85% of his audience, this is what I'm told, said that he did. They said that he did. They see this in the most sick, perverse way you could ever imagine. They see this as justice. He deserved it. He was a Nazi. He was a fascist. He was the most evil man alive. And Brian has done a great job. If you go to his ex, Brian Atlas, he's done a fantastic job of cataloging the vast multitude of Unfuck America tour, where they called him all of this and worse. And I've been retweeting it because it's excellent.
What does smoke-free really mean? It means the freedom to choose your
America tour, where they called him all of this and worse. And I've been retweeting it because it's excellent to see the contrast. These people don't care, Brian. Do you really think Dean Withers and Parker give a shit? Do you really believe that for a second?
No, not at all. I mean, they're putting on a sort of public front for optics reasons. I don't think. I think there is something back there in their mind where they think good, where they think justified, and obviously, given their platform, they have, some sense to not outwardly say that. Look, I don't know these guys. I don't know what their hearts hold, but
I mean, wouldn't you say that probably 40% or more, and I might even be way off here. It may be way more than that. You have to understand that Brian has dealt with maybe more feminists than any other man on planet Earth. That is actually a possibility. He actually may have dealt with more feminist leftists than any other man who is currently in existence on this planet. And I think that he probably won't dispute this when I say this. These are some god-awful people. The things that they believe are god-awful. And the justifications they make for the most horrible things which can happen to various men it's not just off-putting, but it's sick. And how are these people really that dissimilar from a lot of these leftist feminists that you deal with? Don't you think that 40% plus, and that's me being very charitable, these leftist feminists are probably celebrating this today?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, you raised a really good point, and it was something that I was kind of discussing a little bit on my ex, is they use terms like fascist, like Nazi, like extremist, like far right, like all these terms, sexist, racist, whatever it is. That girl Anne, who I reacted to it on stream earlier. You posted her thing from her Discord. Interestingly enough, if you look at her TikTok, she's doing, she's crying about it. The
public face versus what is said in private was readily exposed there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine a woman who has been seething for many months. I forgot all about the debate the second that debate was finished. The second that she was completely pulverized in it, one of their philosopher queens who got devastated in the debate and said gay for pay and all kinds of crazy shit this lady said. Instantly, when it was the case that there was a public assassination of a right-wing figure, the tears were flowing. But how many times have we seen the fake tears? And then we find out in her Discord, she said, got him, fucked it, you know what I mean? I got him, guys, you know what I mean? Anything to get that kind of validation privately and then publicly, in the public front. Oh, I can't believe that they can't. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all a game. And listen, one thing that Brian can tell you and can confirm, I've been in that studio I don't know how many times. A lot of times, the forward face that these women put on, especially these feminists, completely in opposition to what they actually believe. And you have to draw it out like poison.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And actually I saw that Ann girl that we were just talking about, on her X, she said that Charlie Kirk is these things. I forgot. I think she said he was a racist. I don't want to misquote her, but he's a racist, extremist, sexist. I think she said fascist. I don't know. I don't even think that these people could probably define what fascism is. But I think, and this is something I mentioned, I think this rhetoric is dangerous, where they're trying to label people, and most of these people don't even know what these terms mean. Oh, this person's a fascist. Okay, he's a Nazi. Well, okay, what should we do with Nazis? I mean, these people, we fought them in World War II.
Well, imagine the rhetoric here, and you bring up the probably the best point of all. If the rhetoric is, you're the moral equivalent of men who rounded up people, put them in a cattle cart in order to ethnically cleanse them in the most horrific ways possible. That's what you're the moral equivalency to.
Yeah.
You can't then go out publicly and say, but I feel really bad that if you're the moral equivalency of that thing, then it's actually worse for you to go out and publicly say, but I didn't want anything bad to happen to him. Why wouldn't you want bad things to happen to Nazis? Why wouldn't you want bad things to happen to these people who are trying to ethnically cleanse the entire world? Ethnically cleanse the entire world. That's the contradiction, the upfront contradiction. And that's how you know they're full of shit, Brian. They're full of shit. They don't give a flying about what happened to Kirk. They don't care. And they're celebrating it. Yeah. This chat knows it. You know it. We all know it. And they're full of shit, bro. They're full of it.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people on that side of the aisle, like especially some of these younger TikTok people, Dean, Parker, they happily engaged in this sort of fiery rhetoric, basically just trying to label, because it's this strategy isn't really quite as effective as it used to be, but it was basically you call somebody a racist, whether there's any evidence for the claim or not. You call them a racist, oh my God. And most people just buy it. They just buy it. This person's a racist. This person's a Nazi. This person's a fascist, whatever it is. And then they get labeled, and then it makes it much easier to justify all kinds of, whether it's...
Right. You're exactly right. Yeah. The idea here being, if you're an evil person because you've been labeled that, then anything we do to you is justified. Yeah. And how many times, I can't tell you how many times I've seen these types of posts from the various femoids. And I've debated many of the architects of whatever podcast destruction, and there have been many who have come for the whatever podcast in ways you can't even fathom. They've come for it, and I've debated many of them, and always the idea here is I'm completely justified in doing whatever I want to Brian because Thing made me feel bad. And as long as Thing makes me feel bad, I'm completely justified in attacking this person in any way, shape, or form. They don't care. They make a post hoc justification. Brian bad, therefore anything I do to Brian is totally fine.
Yeah. It's happened many times. And
well, how many times in just the last 2 years? I mean, this has happened so many times, in fact, that it's not even unexpected at this point.